Hi, welcome to episode 6 and an update of the 30-day sketchbook challenge. I have 20 prompts done and 10 to go with this latest batch. The prompts for these two small oil paintings are trees and foliage. They were interesting to do as I did them in the alla prima style or technique, which basically means all at one go, that you do the painting from start to finish in one pretty short session. And so considering how long oil takes to dry, you're doing a wet in wet technique. So the paint is wet from start to finish. And so very different for me. The way I usually use oils for a portrait is multiple layers that I let dry in between. And so this was fun and interesting to do. The prompt for this sketch was hot drink. So made a cup of cocoa and sketched that. The prompt for this one was something in the bathroom, which had me stumped for a while. I couldn't think of what in the bathroom that I wanted to draw or paint. And then for some reason the Rubber Ducky song popped in my head, and I thought, well, that would be fun. The prompt for this one was rooftops, and so took a little drive and found a place where I could park and be looking more or less down at a rooftop. And then the prompt for this was something beginning with G, and anytime I can think of a way to work in a dog as a subject for one of the prompts is great, of course. Like to do that. And so for something beginning with G, I did this German Shepherd, which is my brother's dog, K.C. Is a mixed media little portrait that I did, and I am trying my first time lapse of this in progress. My first start with watercolor, and then I do ink, and then colored pencil on top of that. What I am going to start with the watercolor base for the mixed media is kind of get an idea of the darker and lighter areas. Starting with black and whatever other darkest colors there are helps establish from the beginning the value range from the white of the paper to the darkest darks. And that helps put in the middle and lighter colors in the correct value. If you start with those against the white of the paper, they're going to seem like they're dark enough, and then you don't realize till the darks do go in that those other values are too light. While the black watercolor is drying, I'm going to put in the background and use watercolor pencils in some yellowish, brown, green colors, and I'm gonna put it on dry, and then once I've got that all covered, we'll add water to it. I like this method for backgrounds that aren't really in focus, to use the watercolor pencils on dry paper, multiple colors just layered, and then you get some nice color blends when you add water to it. To activate the watercolor pencil, I've got a well of some green watercolor and one of a tannish yellow, and that way it adds even a little bit more variety to the color of the background. I find this way much easier to put in the backgrounds than working wet in wet. Just watercolor can just totally have a mind of its own and be challenging, so this just works for me. Here I'm starting to add the other colors of the dog. So again, with the dry watercolor pencils, and putting down layers of the browns and tans and there's some pink in the ears. And then just like the background, I will add water to it to activate these colors. So this gets a start base layer of the other colors of the dog. And then another way to use the watercolor pencils, I don't know if you can see that I'm doing it, but you touch a damp brush to the tip of the watercolor pencils, and you pick up the colors that you want. And it's a way to, as you can see, strengthen and darken the different colors without having to mix up a bunch of wells of different colors. So it's another way that watercolor pencils are nice to work with. I'm painting Casey's eyes here. We'll do just a little bit more watercolor adjusting, and then we'll let this dry. The watercolor part is done, though I might add a little bit later, just depending. So now it is time to do the inking. The ink adds texture to her coat, and here I am stippling, doing lots of small dots to put the shadow that's underneath her, and then the black also makes the darkest areas of her coat nice and black. This last stage is colored pencil. Sorry, this is the only clip I got of it, but I used the colored pencil to adjust and tweak colors and smooth things out here and there. And ta-da! I am done with this mixed media of K.C. for the Sketchbook Challenge.